Good morning, boys and girls. Today is our last day talking about figurative language because tomorrow is the big day when we will be having our game show, figurative language game show, that is. All right, here we go. We're going to do a review, then we're going to introduce two new types of figurative language. First, if you remember, Miss Anderson went over this figurative language. What is it? When you say something and mean something different than what you appear to be saying on the surface. Keywords: literal. You say exactly what you mean. I could hear the leaves of the tree moving in the wind. So you're listening to the leaves moving in the wind. That's literal. Non-literal. You use different words to say what you mean. The tree whispered in the wind. And the reason with those two sentences, the reason that we use figurative language, once again, is to make our writing more interesting or to be speaking and it to get the attention of our friends or our family or our audience. The next one, literal. The math test is easy. Non-literal. That math test was a piece of cake. Was the math test really a piece of cake? Well, if it was, you definitely would not need a pencil. You would just eat through that math problem. Anyways, here we go. Simile. We talked about this. This is one of the first ones that we learn. And remember, if you do not have these written down, you should be putting them in your notebook because you'll really be wanting these tomorrow when we play our competitive figurative language game show. Simile. A simile is a comparison of two things using the words like or as. Miss Weber is as sweet as pie. That means that Miss Weber is, you guessed it, really nice. She's not really sugary. She's just a nice person. The next one, colorful like crayons. The peacock is colorful like crayons. That's meaning that the peacock doesn't have a bunch of crayons on it. It just is a very colorful bird. Simile. So remember, similes use like or as. The next one we learned about was metaphor. If you didn't write this down, remember, jot it down. What is a metaphor? A metaphor compares two or more unlike things without, that's the big one, without using the words like or as. That's how you tell the two. They're both comparing things, but similes have like or as, metaphors do not. Example, she is the apple of my eye. Obviously, there's not really an apple in your eye. That metaphor means that she is amazing. She's really smart. She's one of my favorites. She is the apple of my eye. Metaphor. Here we go. Then Miss Anderson talked about personification. That, once again, write it in your notebook, giving human qualities to animals or to objects. And here's an example. The stars winked at me. Obviously, the stars are not winking at you. They cannot do that. But when you look up in the sky and at night and you see these stars, they're twinkling, and some could think, oh, they're kind of like a little wink. Not true. Here we go. That was a non-literal way. Then we're going to go into hyperbole. I use hyperbole a lot. It's an extreme exaggeration. So, for example, Miss Anderson went over these. I heard this song a billion times. Doesn't really mean that you've listened to it a billion times. You just heard the song a lot. My backpack weighs a ton. Many of us have used that before, I'm sure. My backpack is really heavy, and the fireworks could be heard 3 states away. You couldn't hear fireworks 3 states away, but it just means that the fireworks were really loud. I'm sorry about my dog. The next one is idioms. Idioms are phrases, sayings that people say that cannot be taken literally. They don't really mean what they sound like. So here were some examples that Miss Anderson went through too. She let the cat out of the bag. My teacher sounds like a broken record. You can see the meanings next to them. And the car cost my parents an arm and a leg. Then there's some others. Cat got your tongue. I'm all ears. You've heard the idioms before. Now, let's get to some of the new learning. Onomatopoeia and alliteration, some of my favorite words to say. Learning target, I can recognize and explain the meaning of onomatopoeia and alliterations. Let's see here. Onomatopoeia, words that make a sound. Here I have just a fun short video on onomatopoeia. I like to say that word.
Crash, bash, boom, pow. What was that sound? Rumble, growl, slurp, smack. Did you hear that? What's that? Onomatopoeia. Oink, neigh, woof, meow. What was that sound? Slap, flick, swoosh, whack. Did you hear that? What's that? Onomatopoeia. Their words imitate sounds. Listen, they are all around. Sniff, cough, chew, ow. What was that sound? Broom, honk, screech, crack. Did you hear that? What's that? Onomatopoeia. What's that? Onomatopoeia. What's that? Onomatopoeia. What's that?
Kind of fun. Love that word. So here, what sound words can you use to describe these pictures? If your teacher would like to pause the video, now would be a great time. First word is what? Yes, you guessed it. It is clap. So you have two people and you could make the sound clap, C-L-A-P, and then you would put what at the end? You are super excited. Yes, exclamation. Then we have lightning. A word for lightning that I would maybe use is crash or boom. Then we have the pig, and obviously you could say wink, not meow. Maybe some of you might. Then we come to alliteration. Remember, you should also be writing this in your notebook. You'll want it for tomorrow. Alliteration, the use of the same beginning sound in a line or a verse. Example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Ooh, that gets hard to say, doesn't it? Alliteration, the use of the same beginning consonant sound in a line or verse. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Here is a little some examples of alliteration, and it also talks about poems that are used in alliterations. And I want you to pay attention to that because soon we will start writing poems using alliteration. Here we go.
Peter Piper picked a patch of pickled peppers. Have you heard this before? This is an example of alliteration. Alliteration is a type of literary device that we often see in poetry. Alliteration means that the beginning consonant sounds in words are the same. In these two rhymes or poems, we see consonant sounds repeated, the letter P and the letter T. This adds to the rhythm and beat of the poems. Let's use the letter B to come up with some alliteration. We can brainstorm brilliant B words like banana, bee, baseball, baseball, bat, boat, buy, bee, bust, beat, black, bad, big, brilliant, and broken. Now that we have a good list of bee words, let's put them together to make a poem. Our poem can also include rhyme. I bought a black banana and a broken baseball bat, a burst balloon, a busted boat, a beat-up bowler hat. I wasn't being brainy, bright, or brilliant, but you see, my brain was boggled after being bitten by a bee. Do all of the words in our poem start with B? No, just the important ones. The alliteration and syllables in the words help us create a rhythm in our poem. We also have rhyme in our poem. When we read a poem that uses alliteration, those repeated sounds stand out to us. They help us paint a picture in our minds and support our understanding. Alliteration can also create a mood or make us feel a certain way. So when you hear a poem that uses wonderful and wacky words, know the poet did it on purpose, and it's called alliteration.
All right.
Peter?
So now what you're going to do with your teacher is you're going to brainstorm words that start with your name and make an alliteration. When you are done, please raise your hand if you would like to share. Here's Miss Dixon. My first name is Tisha. So I did Tisha tastes tangy toothpaste on her tongue. I really did do that, and it really was tangy. So your teacher can pause the video and you can start your alliteration. Okay, that was some fun alliterations. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, as you can see, figurative language is so important for making our language fun and interesting. You'll see it a lot in stories, you'll see it in poems, you'll see it in the movies, and you'll hear it as you're walking down the street. Alliterations, hyperboles, onomatopoeia, personification, metaphors, similes, idioms. There are more types of figurative languages, but that's the ones that we're going to focus on today and what we're going to be using in, you guessed it, I know I've told you a million times, but I hope you are ready for the game show tomorrow. That's right, boys and girls. I just used a what? I hope you were shouting it out. The figurative language game show is tomorrow. I hope you study up on the different types of figurative language that we used. Let's have some fun tomorrow. Thanks and have a great rest of your day. Oh, I'm so hungry right now. I could eat a horse. I smell my daughter cooking that pizza from a mile away. Ha ha ha. Bye bye.